Nicolas Cage playing two roles in the same movie could have been a disaster, but in Adaptation it became one of his most brilliant performances. A film about writing itself, Charlie Kaufman's meta masterpiece pulls Cage into the strangest role of his career, and maybe his best. On this episode of Foreplay, we dive into Adaptation, the finale of our Nicolas Cage arc. 4 films that reveal every side of one of Hollywood's wildest actors. Make sure to subscribe and hit the hype button so you don't miss the next arc. This week on Foreplay, we are concluding our Nicolas Cage arc with Adaptation. We also have a new arc that we have discussed a little bit on the show before, which is the journalism arc that we are starting. And the journalism arc is going to be All the President's Men, Network, The Insider, and Salvador, in that order. So you guys can enjoy that. Surely no one will say what happened to Spotlight. Nobody will say that.
No, fuck Spotlight, but good movie. But fuck American journalists filleting themselves for 2.5 hours. Like, you know what I mean? I ain't got it in me, guys. I ain't got it in me. Also, by the way, when the artwork is done for this, if I am Belushi, I am gonna get fucking mad. Right? Just don't make me Belushi. Well, I don't want to be the fat guy for once, please. Like, I'm working on it.
Let him at least be like Al Pacino from The Insider or something. You know, give him like a reasonable casting.
Yeah.
You know, the fun thing, guys.
The fat guy.
Make Monte.
Okay, I give
that's already in this act too late. I was going to say, make Monte like the really pathetic Nick Cage from this film with all that like shit hair and all that like male pattern bald. Just fuck with him like that. But I guess you can't for that one.
Again, I am feeling attacked right now.
Okay. I am actually. So he did put me as Nick Cage from Adaptation in the arc, but I don't have the terrible hair. I just look like me. But there's 2 of me.
Fucking classic.
But in any case, I never give.
Am I machine? Has he made me machine for me? I'm telling you, this motherfucker's got a grudge. Like,
you're not wearing a mask, Richard. You're just on the film. Anyway, you are in the snuff film. Are you the victim? Are you machine? Who can know?
He did essentially put you in a fictional snuff film on the poster. This guy's cooking, I can't lie. He's fucking going hard, isn't he? I know.
What's he me?
By the way, I don't give a Tonsillos any directions. The only thing I tell him is, here are the movies. And then he just does it all. I don't want to, I'm not influencing his process whatsoever. I don't request to be characters. I don't request that you guys are particular characters. He just does it.
You can tell, though, it's like he's afraid of Thorin. He always makes Thorin the coolest. True. Every single time. Thorin's always the coolest. He's Jack Nicholson in fucking Chinatown, all this shit, right? He makes Monte a respectable one, like one of the, and then I just get what's left over. I get the detritus at the fucking end. Please, can I be the protagonist?
No, the joke is, if we ever do an 80s kids movies, you will just be fucking like, what's his name from the Goonies or whatever, fuck Sloth from the Goonies. You'll just be made to be Sloth from the Goonies, I know, but it'll be your face just all.
With just fucking glasses on. Like, perfect. Yeah, this is sick. I love this. Love this podcast for that. Anyway, whatever. We'll see. Surely on the journalist arc,
I know. Surely,
I have to be a cool guy one time.
You could be Russell Crowe. Okay.
Let me be the guy from Network screaming. I sort of do that anyway. Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell him that. I will make a special request for you, Richard.
He's gonna draw me like a right cunt. Fucking come on. Let's talk about a great movie. Let's go. I'm ready.
Yeah. So let's talk about Adaptation. So this is our first Charlie Kaufman film. I'm a deep lover of Charlie Kaufman. So this is one of the ones that I wanted in here. But the reason why we picked it for Nicolas Cage is he won the Academy Award for Leaving Las Vegas. He was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actor for Adaptation. And as we alluded to on our previous episode, playing twins in a movie can go very wrong a lot of the time. He is excellent as both of the twins in this film. And on top of that, this is just a fantastic movie that is one of the most interesting, I think, meta commentaries on making film and making art in general, about the process of writing, about the creative process in general. And so it's a very unique film to discuss. And I will do the summary of this movie because you will not understand a word of this if you haven't seen the movie and you don't have a summary of this. And even if you are thinking about watching this movie, to describe the premise of this movie, I'm hoping will titillate you enough to actually watch it, because you should definitely watch this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, put it this way. I think this might be Nick Cage's best work. He was on nightmare mode when he got nominated for the Oscar here, because he was up against Michael Caine in The Quiet American, Daniel Day-Lewis as Bill the Butcher in Gangs of New York. Best thing about that movie.
He shouldn't win.
It's
a pretty good class already.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson on when he did his comeback movie about Schmidt. And then the winner, which was Adrian Brody in The Pianist, which I think is
a bit overrated.
Kind of it's overrated. and by the way, Roman Polanski movies, are we just all pretending that's okay? Are we still like we're just putting his movies? Whatever, fine.
By the way, Hulk Hogan, what a terrible piece of shit. But Roman Polanski, love him, great artist.
Standard ovation, love the Pianist. Mental. But anyway, so he was on nightmare mode. It was a really, really good.
I mean, the really egregious thing I think about when we talk about The Pianist was that it won Best Adapted Screenplay instead of this movie, which is a literal movie called Adaptation that is one of the wildest adaptations of source material you could possibly imagine.
I think this is the thing as well. I think a lot of people watched this movie not realizing it is a literal adaptation of the book,
It's
The
insane.
Orchid Thief. It is an actual adaptation, and basically somehow Charlie Kaufman managed to spin
it's the ultimate flag. The joke is the film is him doing. The joke is he couldn't actually in real life write an adaptation of a book called The Orchid Thief, and then he sat around thinking, "Fuck, I've got writer's block. Is this the end of my career? I'm supposed to be a good writer. Wait a minute." Eureka, what if I wrote a movie about me trying, as the character, trying to write the book, and in doing so, but then how would I play with all Hollywood? I know, I have an imaginary brother, and he's like every hack Hollywood writer, by the way. By the way, that's also a quick tie-in why Nicolas Cage is genius casting in this film. I agree with Richard, it's very hard to do the brothers thing. When he referenced it on the 8mm episode, we didn't have time, but the one I would have referenced myself is, I think Jeremy Irons in Dead Ringers is a fucking, that's a peach.
Sure,
right
yeah,
there.
yeah,
People forget that one, but if you want the people
Fantastic.
watching that Netflix series, go back and watch that. It's amazing how he contrasts the two characters, makes you understand who's who when they're on camera without having to constantly say the name. But in this film, the reason it's genius, Monty, is because we've made them watch all those other Nick Cage movies. Yes, if you've watched a later movie like Mandy, you know Nicolas Cage has crazy range. If you've only watched the 90s action movies, you know he can just be the straight, saying the one-liner. In this movie, the genius is the two brothers are like the two different styles of Nick Cage acting. You've got the in-touch, like more reflective, like some emotion. Then you've got the bozo, like, hey, silly one-liner, stupid thing, haha, like comedic acting. That's what's genius about the casting. It's like whoever cast this understood I could get both performances, and he kills it. So I agree. Keep going with the premise if you want, Monty.
It's like a combination of the sad sack leaving Las Vegas Nick Cage with over the top Con Air the Rock Nick Cage. It's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, look. So just to.
But I agree. The maddest thing about this is, even though we can get there, like, there's a lot of great things in this movie, but the joke is the idea that the screenplay doesn't win the Oscar. It's like, what are we even giving Oscars out for? This is like, you have to understand, this is for like movie scripts, what like some like Thomas Pynchon is or something for fucking novels, or James Joyce or something like. It's some transformative shit where you can't even believe they got away with it. It's why, like I say, it is actually
it's postmodernism gone right.
This is actually, like I say,
it is the most meta movie ever meta.
By the way, what I said before, this is the ultimate genius flag that any creative person did in massive mainstream work, because essentially the joke is that's what everyone wishes they could do when they get stuck writing something like, oh, what if I made myself a character? Yeah, but if you did that, it'd be shit in the end. This guy makes it actually, so the joke is, I mean, we can get this later, it's one of the only times I ever looked up some stuff about the thing myself. The joke is at the end, the woman who wrote the real Orchid Thief even agrees this is like straight fire, basically, and understands, like, it was. It's actually sort of better than my shit. Yeah, like, because it is. The joke of it is, it takes all the elements of all this. Oh, by the way, it also inadvertently ends up being a really cool adaptation of that book and makes it better with other shit that wasn't in the book. It's actually genuinely a genius film.
Yeah, it really is.
Like, and if you've seen a Charlie Kaufman movie, probably most of our audience has seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is a movie I enjoy, but it is weird, but it's way less weird than a lot of his other movies, guys. Like this one is very strange. Synecdoche, New York is extremely strange. His most recent movie, I'm thinking of Ending Things, is also very weird.
Obviously,
he made that one for Netflix.
Is really out there too.
being John
Another
Malkovich.
like film which
yeah,
you
so
know
I would
contains
say,
real life elements that are also in a fictional world because it's kind of this guy's jam.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people have probably seen Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Great movie. But this is really, I think, and I think he won an Academy Award for that specifically. Best Original Screenplay for Eternal Sunshine. But I think like this is just such a masterpiece in terms of writing that it's almost unbelievable that this movie even got made. So Spike Jonze, who is the director of this, also directed Being John Malkovich. And there are scenes in this movie about being on the set of Being John Malkovich. So it's like incredibly meta
so
that
well,
you
don't
have
they?
to
Yeah.
know that the director and writer were both on that other movie also. So the more you know about the people who are involved in this, the richer this story becomes. And it almost demands that you have this body of knowledge to draw from to really, I think, fully appreciate this film. I'll be interested to see what some of you guys say in the comments who maybe haven't seen these films or not familiar with these people. Because I think we're all coming into it with a lot of foreknowledge of who they are and how they work in these movies. But basically, I'll do the quick summary. So as Thorin already said, the concept of this is just mind-bending in and of itself. So the book, it's called Adaptation for many reasons, but the on the face version is that it is an adaptation of a work by a woman named Susan Orlean. I don't know how she would say it because she's American. Susan Orlean, who is a writer for The New Yorker, who wrote a New Yorker article about a real life. This is a nonfiction story about a man named John Laroche who was stealing orchids from federally or state, I suppose this is state protected land, a state preserve in Florida with the help of some Seminole Native Americans because they were allegedly like immune because they're Indians from, because if you don't know in America, Indians, Native Americans can kill bald eagles because they use their feathers for ritual purposes and for traditional, native ornamentation, especially the Plains Indians, right? So they are allowed to do things in nature and on federal and state protected land that other people are not allowed to do. So basically he was taking them along and saying, okay, we need to get these orchids out or these other rare plants that may be endangered. I'm not touching them technically, like these Seminole guys are going to be the ones touching them, but he's like the ringleader of the operation. Yeah. So it's an article about him. This gets optioned into a book. Okay. So she writes the book, The Orchid Thief, again, about her and her non-fictional experience with a real man named John Laroche. Okay, so stay with me, guys. Charlie Kaufman is then brought in to do an adaptation of the nonfiction book, The Orchid Thief. Charlie Kaufman can't figure out how to adapt this book into a movie. So Charlie Kaufman makes a book about Charlie Kaufman, a fictional version played by Nicolas Cage, and also invents a twin brother for himself named Donald Kaufman, who is not a real person. And yet, at the start of this movie in the credits, the screenwriting credit is to Charlie and Donald Kaufman. Again, not a real person.
Kiss.
So now we're into the we're in the postmodernity, meta narrative of this right now. So within the film, Charlie Kaufman struggles to write this movie to adapt the real book, The Orchid Thief, about real events. The author of The Orchid Thief, again, this is another real person, just like Charlie Kaufman is a real person. Susan Orlean is played by Meryl Streep, okay? Yep. And the real person, John Laroche, is played by Chris Cooper in a role which he wins an Academy Award for Best
Supposedly steals the movie in some ways, in a mega movie.
Absolutely.
Kills it, doesn't he?
It's great.
Absolutely. Glad you said that.
So as you can see, there are some mega actors in this movie. They all crush it. Like Meryl Streep is, as usual, totally incredible. Kind of amazing. This is the first Meryl Streep movie we've done. So anyway, now it's about Charlie Kaufman and his own insecurities trying to write this while we see slices of Susan Orlean, who is played by Meryl Streep, writing The Orchid Thief. And then now we get into a part where there's fictional elements of Donald Kaufman, who is this kind of loser brother of his, who's kind of an idiot, writing a terrible script, and then he introduces a character, another real life person, McKee, who is a very famous person who does screenwriting workshops. So Robert McKee is a real person played by Brian Cox.
Also brilliant cast
too. Perfect.
So, also brilliant cast. He's great. He actually looks almost exactly like the real Robert McKee, which is very funny as well. So if you look, just Google Robert McKee and you'll see he looks literally exactly like him. It's very hilarious. So Robert McKee does travel around and do these screenwriting workshops. He has written books on screenwriting. He is a real person. Okay. So Donald goes to a screenwriting workshop, then writes his own screenplay. His Ron Livingston, his agent, loves this terrible thriller movie he writes. It gets optioned for a bunch of money. And then what we have is, again, we have to go back. I have to keep reiterating this. The book is nonfiction, but the events that happen in this movie with John Laroche and Susan Orlean are mostly taking place years after the book was written. And it is Charlie Kaufman inventing a fictional relationship. It is a fanfic that he writes about, remember, the real author of this book with the real person that she wrote an article on, and he has them engaged in a drug.
By the way, that's even the funniest part, because I imagine this woman getting this script like, we just needed to sign off on sort of, and it's like, wait a minute, and then the big reveal is the orchid is actually to extract like a drug that I then take and fuck this guy. Fucking hell, like you take it. That's how you know. That's how you know, Monte, that the genius is one.
She didn't at first,
that's the genius, because one, the script is so good. I think she herself just realizes this is like a work of art itself, isn't it? Like it's like, if you like, it's like those stories where supposedly Michael Jackson really would sometimes just be like, you know what, fuck it, this track's mega that you've got the sample for, you can have it, sign off, there you go. That's I always think fair play. And then secondly, if you're going to try and make someone look good, Monte, you go, and we just cast you as Meryl Streep, so it's like you have sort of gone fucking, oh yeah, you know what, maybe actually I will,
maybe I,
you know what, it's about as good as it gets in it, you know.
She did say as well, like what she admires the most about it is that the book is very true to the themes of life and obsession. Absolutely. And there are also insights into things which are much more subtle in my book about longing.
I even think that part is genius, by the way. That is also the smartest part. You could take this movie on one level, like Robert Altman's The Player, like the whole Donald thing and the McKay character. These are all just like, you're just fucking riffing on Hollywood, aren't you? Now, and the idea that, like, if you had some dickhead brother who didn't even have the shame to know he's a terrible writer, Monte, he's a hack, and just put some stupid thing, they'd be like, hey, there's a 6 or 7 figure offer, and then he's getting all the women you want off all the movies, and you're the real genius, you're the tortured.
Well,
and
then
and also hold up. Yeah. Also, I will have to say about Susan Orlean's like take on this, because remember, she had to sign off on this script because it's an adaptation of her book, and she did, which is based in the end, that she was like, you know what? I will not even have this really be about my book, although they are complimentary of the material, and they do read passages from the book in the movie, and they are good passages. So I think the book comes across as being quite good. But you can understand that it would be weird to walk into a movie theater, see yourself as Meryl Streep, and watch you bang somebody that you knew in real life who's being played by Chris Cooper, and like now everybody thinks you're having like a drug-fueled sex relationship with them. It's weird, right? It's a weird position to put somebody in. But I also think it works because Charlie Kaufman himself, he satirizes himself. Needless to say, Charlie Kaufman is not fat. He is not balding in a terrible way like Nicolas Cage is. Nicolas Cage is wearing a fat suit in this movie. He has the fake hair. He's not single and like jerking it to dust jacket cover, pictures of Meryl Streep. He was married at the time of this movie.
You don't know that.
He might have been doing that part.
Yeah.
He might have been doing that. I don't know that. That's true. But my point is like, he makes himself look way worse than he is in real life in this film. And like, I think that takes away some of the heat that would have been placed on the presentation of the Susan Orlean character. Right.
Sure. I mean, and look, to this point, right, the book itself is one of these classic, there's got to be a word for the genre, but I'll just articulate what it is in not a singular word. But when you're doing journalism and you find like some insane, eccentric character who are just interesting to write about, and you essentially present their life, which is generally lived in an uncompromising way, And then you use that to ultimately explore things about the way the reader, normal people, maybe even the writer in this case, live their lives. And that is a particular genre of journalism. It's where you just find something so niche, so bizarre, and you bring it to life and you make it accessible for everyone else that reads the material. It takes a particular eye, you know, for that kind of story. But what a fantastic fucking by the way, the aspects that are true about this guy, this John Laroche guy, is that, you know, he did have a business that went under, and he did have these like awful things happen to him, and then he did go and he was out there seeking orchids, but actually it wasn't the first time. He'd had a weird obsession, like it was something that was really strange and particular to him, very idiosyncratic. He'd done that multiple times as well. And so, but the idea of somebody being out there and trying to find like the Moby Dick white whale, the ghost orchid, the rarest of all flowers on planet Earth, and I'm not going to stop until I get it, because, you know, I know everything about orchids. I'm obsessed with orchids. This is like the rarest of the rare, and I love that it's super dangerous, and I don't give a fuck. I've got nothing else. It's just this like quest that is so singular to like lots of people that live that. Almost like the most interesting people are all fucked up and obsessed in some way. And what the book nails is obsession, but what Charlie Kaufman nails in his adaptation of a book about obsession is his own obsession at creating the perfect screenplay adaptation for this book, but also the obsession about all the minutiae of his own life. The way this movie nails the internal monologue, like, it still blows me away that people don't have this. Apparently there's people that just don't have an internal monologue. I cannot believe that's true. That has to be like some urban myth or something, because it's constantly there for me. And when I'm hearing this back, this is like the shit that I'm saying to myself in my brain all of the time. You know, there's a scene where he sits down at the keyboard and he says, right, gotta start, how to begin. You know what? Coffee will help me start. And no, but I should reward myself with a coffee. There may be a muffin. You know what? Banana nut. That's a really good muffin. Dude, that's me. That's me. Every time I type a fucking shitty esports article out for the millionth time, I'm so jaded and so fucking done with it. And I know it's not going to be as good as the stuff I was writing 15 years ago, because I'm so burnt out with the subject matter. And I do that. I've literally had that conversation. I'll put it off. I'll get a coffee. You know, because coffee's going to help me. Actually, I can't write right now. My brain's all foggy. I need a coffee. Like, Richard, come on, man. Go through the process.
Coffee and a muffin. Okay, so I need to establish the themes. Maybe banana nut. That's a good muffin.
And it's like just so note perfect. And what you realize is the parallels between the writer of The Orchid Thief and Charlie Kaufman as the writer of the screenplay of this adapted semi-fictional version of The Orchid Thief. It is a wonderful meditation on the creative process. It is probably the best movie made about the artistic process and how torturous it can be. It is a really good pastiche and parody, not just of Hollywood, but of the processes that make Hollywood work. I guarantee you, nobody thinks about adapting source material. You go, well, it's just a book.
It's also,
you just take the book and you just put it on the screen.
It's also just satire of art in general.
Yeah,
like,
and
film,
also the
film is the latest
obsessive
artistic medium, but it has the same hackery that any artistic medium can have that is trying to be, have mass appeal, right?
One point I definitely want to throw over to Duncan is, I think this movie does something really, really well, which isn't in the source material, and yet it is essential for the movie to work. And that is that if you've ever experienced self-loathing, if you've ever got that inner critic, imposter syndrome, whatever fucking phrase you want to use, right? There could be nothing worse than having a twin, an actual twin, that essentially succeeds in all the ways you fail, because then what is the excuse? Why are you broken? He looks like you, he's the same age as you, he was raised in the same environment. Why is he better? why does he have this easy charm with people when I'm so... By the way, toe curling cringe
Oh, of course,
in this movie.
Yeah. He's shameless. The joke is,
he's such a
you
loser.
see him as an idiot and a bore and a fucking imbecile. Yeah, of course. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I even think that's also genius, by the way, because the idea that to make this film, he fantasized, what if I had a brother that was basically just the hack version of me, that's everything Hollywood wanted.
Yeah.
Well, the joke of it all is, that's why I agree, this movie is actually for people who are overthinkers. I was even thinking, obviously it's hard to place this in much of like, it's not in a genre, it's a very unique film. I'll tell you what this reminded me of though, Monty, is Woody Allen films. Like, that's also this incessant neurotic New York sort of like picking yourself apart and you're not quite good enough and you're trying to appeal to people in certain ways that you know are slightly fraudulent, but then they're slightly fraudulent. By the way, think of the scenes where Meryl Streep, when she initially meets the Laroche guy, she's then at her like New York dinner parties and they're all kind of idiots, like no fucking front teeth. All that, by the way. And I even think the genius part of this film, this is why I think they got the woman, Susan Orlean, on board with this. It's because, bro, like we say, this movie isn't actually, except for the end of which we can get to, written by the Donald character. The reason this is written by Charlie Kaufman is the best compliment I imagine she found when she read the script was, oh, this guy got some out of my book. Maybe even I didn't, which is, yes, obviously in real life, I just wrote this cool profile about a guy, made it into a book, and I certainly didn't take drugs and then fuck him and become involved in some bizarre tryst. But you know what? First of all, that's examining her, like, you know, like path she hasn't gone down. What if she was like this person? Because she's clearly drawn to how his obsession, right? The fact that he has, she's in this effete fucking, you know, artifice of New York art world where it's just like, oh, you're doing this, and that. But they're not truly passionate in the same way. This guy has this burning obsession for the orchid that, like, is attractive, by the way. The joke of it all is we meet him as some weird redneck guy with no thing, but you very quickly, as he starts talking, you start getting drawn into what he's saying. And actually, the point he makes about flowers, about how essentially the flower and the insect are themselves sort of lovers and soulmates who must find each other. And then he makes this point about how you even need like the perfect like insect that has the proboscis that can go inside it. So essentially, you can see she herself hadn't articulated this in the book. I haven't read the book, I'm going to imagine. But the joke is you could easily then do what he did, which is infer that she then had a similar relationship with this weird guy where it doesn't make any sense. They're from two different worlds. But in some ways, they're the perfect lock and key, aren't they? Which is kind of what he does with the
but also, Kaufman and her are
it's Kaufman and Orlean. Yeah.
They are coming together to make the adaptation and this piece of art
it's
without
basically
truly
because
understanding each other's.
The analogy of the bees and the flowers is that both of them are doing something, and they're unaware of what the other entity is doing or the purpose of the other entity is, but together they are creating something beautiful almost accidentally. And that's what the process of adaptation is when it goes well, right? Is that because he doesn't talk to her. Charlie Kaufman like deliberately freezes up and won't speak to Susan Orlean. So they are brushing against each other, but they're not actually having any kind of communication or really even knowledge of what the other person is doing. And it's resulting in this magnificent, like beautiful piece of art. And also that speech by Laroche is just fantastic writing.
I mean, how could they know that because of their little dance, the world lives? But it does. By simply doing what they're designed to do, something large and magnificent happens.
It's really good.
And also, if you think about it, like, you know, what's so, I think, compelling about Laroche's character is his obsession, and what Orlean will say, well, is the fascination. That's what she lacks, like the focal point of the.
By the way, you can also, without making a big thing, make a very obvious point. If people are young men watching this, like I imagine they are, this is why you have to get out of this stupid mindset that women view men like we view women, and you're looking at like a picture of a woman like that is beautiful. No, women are drawn to things like this, like the fact you have an authentic passion that maybe they don't have in that area. Yes. That is by the way, that's attractive to me watching the film. I'm interested in this guy. So imagine if there was a sexual component. Of course, that would be enthralling and mysterious and weird and enigmatic.
And when I think about Laroche, is like, it's really easy to write him off as like a redneck because of the lack of teeth. And but the more you listen to him talk, you realize he's actually very intelligent.
Oh, I love the line where he says to her, proboscis means nose. And she goes, well, I know what it means. And he just sort of goes like, you know, he basically says something of the gist of sort of like, look, it's not about that. Like, put your ego aside. Like, I'm just explaining it to you. Like, he's not having a dick. In fact, he says something like, let's not have a pissing contest. Like, that's cool though, dude. It's like he's like a guy who just wants to explain something cool that he's into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But also,
and
he's so enthusiastic, he isn't aware of the condescension in that moment. Because he's just in the moment, right?
But he also is not used to her world, which is the East Coast intelligentsia intellectual world that she is a part of, right? Where she would know what those things are. He probably has never met somebody.
They're also
like her
playing
before.
off the dynamic.
They don't exist in
of
the
the
same
dichotomy
social sphere.
of the middle America person who's from the countryside and the in coastal elites. Yeah, they're clearly playing on that friction too.
Yeah. So what's so fascinating about him is like he appears one way, but then he starts, he's clearly smart and driven, and then he also is quite poetic. And then also on top of that, you realize that his teeth are due to this horrible accident that killed his family and his wife, and that he almost just doesn't replace his teeth because he's constantly remembering that accident. And it's not because of any, I would say, stupid redneck.
He's not a meth
thing.
addict
It's
who
because,
catches the four teeth or something.
Exactly. It's like a symbol of his psychological damage. And so I just find him as a character unbelievably fascinating. And if the real John Laroche was like this, I can understand why they wanted to write a book about him.
They do a really good thing in the storytelling of this, which is they show the sneering liberal intelligentsia at a wine party talking about this character as if she's like studying a creature, not a person. And they're drinking the wine.
It's so gross.
And they talk and they say it's almost sociopathic to not get your teeth fixed. Like they can't conceive of why you would have his teeth. And then obviously when he talks about how he lost his family in the car accident, he never got his teeth fixed, it's because he's carrying a very visible psychic wound, because he's never going to be the same after something like that. I mean,
it's also like he doesn't deserve to get his teeth fixed because he was the one who did this. He killed them. So why should he be whole when he was he was the reason they died, right?
The way
it's a burden.
Yeah, the way he tells that story is, when he talks about how as soon as his wife came out the coma, she divorced him, and then she goes, well, you would, because you get a freebie, you get a do-over. And it's really that dynamic, that conversation is fascinating because it's such an inappropriate thing to say, and yet it doesn't offend him or upset him. It's actually why they have this strange relationship. It's a type of really painful honesty, where it's just she is really opening up in saying that. She is talking about her life, not him. It's his story, his pain. And then obviously she says no judgment, and then he goes, well, I did judge her for doing that, and then I myself was judged, and then it goes into this notion of biblical punishment for what he did in losing the nursery in a hurricane. That entire interaction is fucking so. It's almost too real. It's fucking wild. That little scene is fucking magic. That's really powerful stuff.
Nobody can judge you if you almost died.
Well, I judged her. Maybe I was being judged too. It was a month after that, Hurricane Andrew came along and just swooped down like an angel of God and just wiped out everything I had left.
Hey guys, this episode of Foreplay is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. Now, you guys are going to be seeing this episode after the first week of action in American football at the start of the season, but it started football season, so if you are interested in that, you are in America, go ahead and pop on Prize Picks. As I've said on other shows, I took a couple mores on the Daily Fantasy this week. So one of them was more than half a touchdown from both Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. Hopefully I did okay on that one, because the way Prize Picks works is really easy to play. You just pick more or less on anywhere between 2 and 6 players' stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Not only that, but they have esports, of course. So League of Legends, CS2, Valorant are all supported in Prize Picks. So if you're following along here as we wrap up the year, it's a great time to go on and make some predictions based on your esports expertise. Prize Picks is also the best way to get into action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. So if you guys are interested in playing along with us, you can download the app today and use code FOURPLAY, FOURPLAY, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code FOURPLAY to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
And I think that's one of the other reasons why this movie is so fucking good. Even if the movie was just the actual real adaptation, even if you took all of the shit out and you just made a straight Hollywood movie with Chris Cooper and Meryl Streep, you've got a great fucking movie.
I even think, by the way, if you don't get all
movie.
these layers we're referring to, you'll still enjoy it. It's still an enjoyable, fun movie, funny movie, clever aspects. You'll have no idea where the story's going. But as you say, Monty, it is not just like there's multiple. There's like fucking like 7 layers that are operating on in this film, and it's actually again, the more you can appreciate, the more you bring to the film, the more you'll take away. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, look, the performances in this movie. I mean, imagine, by the way, you're Nick Cage doing a career best turn, arguably, right? Like, just a masterclass of like, it's almost method acting, but also as well to have the level. Like, what he does is he ratchets up the Woody Allen neurotic behavior on the Charlie Kaufman character up to 10, maybe a 9 actually. It isn't quite Woody Allen, and then he ups the kind of like happy-go-lucky joviality up to a 9.
The joke is Donald is who people who hate Nicolas Cage think he is.
Yeah,
even he's not really ever that ridiculous in a film, but in this one, he purposely... like that scene at the party, mate, where he meets like the woman he was obviously interested in, Amelia or whatever, and she's with some utter fucking... He could have been the machine of fucking 8mm, some ugly troll fucking guy, and then that guy just goes like, "Ma, pushing in the bush, oh mate, you want to die? You feel like you're there at that party. You're like, oh, everyone loves this fucker."
I was just heading home to do some work. You coming? No, man. I'm gonna stay at Caroline's tonight. A little push in the bush.
You're such a star.
Get me out.
Yeah,
Get me out.
yeah. But also as well, that's just a great little moment because it's like he could have had Amelia, he could have been with her. He just had to ask. He just had to not be such a flake and a weirdo, and he couldn't manage it. And then she brings someone in that's clearly, meant to resemble, like, he's less attractive than Kaufman's, so it's great. But I mean, look, the way he plays both characters in this is just fucking fantastic.
Mate,
fully
the scenes
believable.
you're talking about as well, like the awkward scenes with the Amelia woman, mate. This is just like pregnant pauses, glances. Inside, you could almost hear his internal monologue. I should say something. Fuck, she's gonna leave. See you next week, I guess. Mate, those are fucking master. Again, this is where Nick Cage doesn't get his credit. Those are really well acted scenes. By the way, the scene with I forget the name of the woman who plays the waitress. Mate, you want to die inside when you. This is the worst. Like, we love this comedy in Britain, like The Office style stuff. This is the worst, like, cringe, like, please, I need to look away scenes you've ever seen. But it's masterfully done, though. So well done.
I'm going up to Santa Barbara this Saturday for an orchid show, and I
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I apologize.
So I'll just be right back with your pie then.
Now, if you smell like you've been hunting the elusive ghost orchid in a Florida swamp, you might want to pick yourself up some Mando. Mando offers a variety of men's grooming products, including this whole body deodorant in the very masculine scent bourbon leather here. They have a whole host of other scents if bourbon leather isn't for you. I like the Clover Woods one myself personally. And not only do they have regular stick deodorant, they have cream tube deodorant, which is like a lotion that you can rub into any part of your body where you might be getting body odor, not just your pits, but maybe your feet as well. And of course, they have their deodorant wipes, which I love because if you need to just get a quick rinse down of your armpits before heading on to your next activity, it will eliminate that body odor immediately. They also have bar soap, body wash, anything you could possibly need for your men's daily grooming regimen. So with that in mind, guys, of course, you can head on over to Mando and help us out a little bit while doing a little bit for your own hygiene regimen The Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. Comes with that solid stick deodorant, a cream tube deodorant, and 2 free products of your choice, like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special for our listeners, new customers get 20% off site-wide with our exclusive code. Use code FOURPLAY, FOURPLAY, at shopmando.com for 20% off site-wide and free shipping. SHOPMANDO.com. Please support our show and tell them Foreplay sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long-lasting freshness.
But I agree with you, Duncan. I think, unfortunately for Nick Cage, Chris Cooper is in this movie, and he is the best thing in the film. I gotta say it. This guy is. I did not like American Beauty. It's the movie, obviously, he's known for because he plays the fucking...
So I haven't seen that movie since it was released. I have a feeling, based on my memory of it, that it aged very, very badly.
It is shit. It is shit, and it's made all the shitter because it's like Kevin Spacey's life now intersects with the film in a way that's like, you know, he's like pushing away the man kissing him on the lips. Oh no, none of that gay stuff for me. Kevin Spacey, you took your mother to the Oscars and got caught cottaging in a fucking famous like gay dogging spot, you mad cunt. We all know. So anyway, we've known for years, whatever. But no, the problem is, unfortunately, it's just a deeply, deeply silly, cliched, hackneyed film which starts with a dog shit script and just resonated with people because I think in '99, like, America was still a place where, you know,
I mean, that plastic bag scene, man.
The problem is it is a pretentious film. It's for people who think they're deep. Like, this is their version of like, oh, it's like Proust or something to me, man. Like, give me a break.
It's actually trash, and not trash in a fun way. Like, trash in a, God, how was this movie ever successful? Now, everybody remembers Chris Cooper from that film because he plays like the really overbearing parent. Yeah. You're gonna go in the army, son. No, I'm not. I'm gonna smoke weed and do a retail job. Oh God, I can't cope with this. I got a jawhead haircut, and I was like, oh my fucking God, like, what are we doing here? And obviously, you know, like, they'll just give you a little wink to the Oscars or the awards. Ooh, he's so brave. He kissed a man on the lips. He's so fucking brave. Oh, like, that's the worst thing that's going to happen in your life, is it? Fucking hell. Grow up. So, anyway, people remember him for that role and think he's really good in that movie. He's not. He's a fucking walking cliche in that film. But if you'd have told me the guy in American Beauty that does that would put a performance like this, I would never, ever believe it. And funnily enough, he went on to do another really good role where it's not a particularly big part, but he was in a movie called The Town, which if we ever do a Heist arc, will probably be in that.
We did a Heist arc, Richard.
Yeah. Another Heist arc. Heist arc 2. Right?
Richard, we literally did that.
Listen, I can't be expected to remember details of my own life, Monte. I'm like Charlie Kaufman. I'm just like locked into some neurotic thing that's occurred to me. But anyway, this is Chris Cooper's best performance by a million miles. I believe he is this character. He is fully imbued. It is like he channeled this guy. The way that he incorporates a lisp because of the way the teeth are broken in his mouth. Obviously, that's something. He has to physically put the dentures in. But he's then still got to pick up the little speech patterns and idiosyncrasies. The way that when he's locked into the thing he's obsessed about, his body language reeks of obsession. He's not looking at Meryl fucking Streep, who is doting on him and staring at him. He doesn't care. I'm in a fucking swamp. By the way, when he gets lost in the swamp and he's trying to like flex that he's not even lost, and he does that bit with the sundial and then turns around and immediately kicks over the sundial. Guarantee that's not in the script, by the way. Guarantee that is an actor absolutely just in the fucking zone. Chris Cooper fucking steals this film. He's in a film with Nick Cage at his best, Tilda Swinton, Meryl Streep, and Chris Cooper comes out as the reigning fucking champ. He is so good in this film. I'm mesmerized every time he's on screen. And the way he holds court with his dialogue, he gets all the best lines, I think. It just fucking it's crazy. It's crazy. Actors would kill
the way he delivers some of his monologues too, where especially the one where he's talking about the tropical fish is just so fucking funny. Where at the end he's just like, "Fuck fish."
So I said, "Fuck fish," and I never put no toe in the ocean ever since. That's how much fuck fish, and I love the ocean. I love the ocean.
Then one day I say, "Fuck fish." I renounce fish. I vow never to set foot in that ocean again. That's how much fuck fish. That was 17 years ago, and I have never since stuck so much as a toe in that ocean. And I love the ocean.
But why?
Done with fish.
It's just, but like if I didn't know that guy was an actor, because obviously the recurring joke is like, who's going to play us in the adaptation of the movie? And of course, you know, he thinks it's going to be someone really cool and famous, and it's not. It's Chris Cooper. That's another like little metatextual joke. But if you just told me that was John Laroche, if I didn't know Chris Cooper
By the way, I'm
like,
actually.
yeah.
I would love to know if they actually tried to actually cast John Laroche in this movie at some point in time.
I mean, that would just add another little meta level to this.
What this reminds me of, Richard, is it's not a great movie, but so there was another movie adaptation of a nonfiction book, The Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil, and there is an outrageous drag queen character in
Another Day.
Yeah, no, he's
yes,
everywhere.
with
He's
Kevin
everywhere.
Spacey. Yep.
Yeah.
It's like an all right movie, but my point is that there's a totally outrageous character within this movie that's a drag queen in Savannah, Georgia, and so they literally just cast the real life drag queen in the movie, and I would be not surprised if they tried, and that came out in the late 90s, and so I would not be surprised, because this movie came out later, if they had seen that and were like, well, what if we just literally got John LaRoche and put him in this movie?
Yeah.
So I don't know if they tried.
I mean, it's also kind of weird in terms of like probably he started. This is when he started to be in like more mainstream movies. I mean, I will say this: Chris Cooper had promise. He's in A Time to Kill, and he has that scene because he's the prison guard who gets shot in the leg. And they put him on the stand, and everyone assumes because Samuel L. Jackson shot him by accident when he was killing those two racists that like attacked his daughter. I'll say attack. It's worse. And anyway, they fucking they think he's gonna like not side with Samuel L. Jackson, and when he turns to the jury and he goes, that man's a hero. You turn him loose. It's like, fucking hell. This is like, who's this guy? Like, I want to see more of this guy. And then you get American Beauty like 2 years later or whatever. So, but I mean, like, just insanely good in this film. I want this version of Chris Cooper to be in every film. Like, you can put him in anything for me, but unfortunately, that version of Chris Cooper existed for a very brief moment of time. But yeah, performances are great. I usually don't like Meryl Streep. I think she's really good in this.
Really?
But it's I do think she's a bit overrated, Monty, because here's the problem. Yeah. First of all, it's a bit like if I say to you, who's a good black actor, and the only two names you can mention is Denzel Washington and Sidney Poitier. It's like, that's cliched, mate. Like, there's other brilliant actors. So her problem is she's the famous, really good woman actor, right, Monty? I will just say this. Ask anyone who tells me they're a massive fan of theirs. Give me your top 5 Meryl Streep films. You'll fucking struggle to even get to 3, mate. You'll struggle. She hasn't been in that many classics, mate. And she's also, by the way, I'll tell you what, for someone with so many Oscars and so much acclaim, done a lot of fucking shit, sort of like fucking Glenn Close type.
Oh, she gets away with murder.
She's done some bollocks, mate.
Yeah. Oh, she's
I'm
been
with
in
you,
some
Monty.
trash,
She
for
can
sure,
be really good, but in general, I'm not someone who like reveres her as some Mount Rushmore actor. But I think she's really good in this film, though.
I think once she gets out of the 80s, I think it's shaky, man.
This is a banger, though. This is definitely good, though.
Yeah, sure. But I mean, like, you know, in the 80s, you've got like, you know, fucking Sophie's Choice,
sure,
out of Africa.
Out of Africa is very good. I'll give you that. Yes.
Africa's good.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, she did some fucking bangers. Like, but bro, by the time she's doing like Death Becomes Her, like,
I know exactly.
I'm kind of out. I'm out on that. But she gets away with murder. She's like Hollywood royalty. Yes. She does like a film almost every year that she's been an active actress, and everyone's all hyped about it. Apparently, she's lovely behind the scenes. Everybody loves her on the set. Yeah. She's super graceful. Like, she's notoriously a sweetheart. Like, by the way, have you ever seen that story? Which actress told the story about how like they were all calling Meryl Streep the GOAT, and she didn't know the GOAT means greatest of all time, and so she was just tanking that, right? Like, and then they said, "Oh God, here comes the GOAT," and she said, "Yes, the old GOAT is coming to say," and she literally thought the whole time she was being called an old GOAT.
Wow,
she just tanked it. And I can't remember which actress it was, but she was like, no, it means it's the greatest of all time. And she was like, oh, really? You know, so she's apparently a lovely woman behind the scenes, which is crazy for Hollywood royalty. You would expect her to be a monster. But look, I just think she's been in a lot of shite. She's been in a lot of
definitely true.
And this is not that. I actually think she's really good in this. Like, she nails the tone, the longing. The bit with the fucking bit with the Native American who goes, I see your sadness. And then it's like, and then he like wanders off and he's trying to do that enigmatic Native American trope where it's like, wow, they're just so spiritual, man.
They're just really high.
Yeah, and he's just fucking, you find out later he was just fucking high as a kite on a new type of drug Charlie Kaufman invented. It's just when you see her face crumple when she realizes, it's great. It's great. There's loads of really good subtle acting in this. So obviously we're limited for time. I won't wax lyrical about the performances anymore, but everyone in this movie is great. It's got my all-time crush in it, Maggie Gyllenhaal. Fucking, she's only in it for 5 minutes, and I'm still in love with her. It's great. Yeah, everyone's really, really good. I also love the way
it's just funny the quality of the actors that are in this. Just even in like very small parts that are just like Ron Livingston is just great as the agent, as the like kind of dumb, slimy agent, and this is so
just
funny.
Just obsessed with anal sex, just perfect. Like just not
like
perfect.
The dude bro.
Yeah, just some dude bro that like failed upwards in Hollywood, you know, like doesn't understand it.
See her? I fucked her up the ass. No, I'm kidding.
When he says as well that line about maybe you could bring your brother into work, like the worst thing you could say to Charlie Kaufman in that moment. He's like struggling with it. But also, like, just to get back to the script, and like, by the way, like, I don't know if this makes me a normie, but when I remember the first time I watched this film, because it blew me away the first time I saw it. And I remember when he was doing that whole thing with the dictaphone where he's like talking about what he's going to put in the screenplay. And then, of course, you see it in the screenplay and you realize that actually some of the scenes that have happened in the screenplay, he then narrates and you go, right, so it is the adaptation. You know, I don't know if that makes me a normie, Duncan, like be impressed by that, but I was impressed by that.
No, but the thing is, there's also so much
trophy.
dialogue in this film. You could forget that, but I agree. It foreshadows actually how the actual film that he's writing, we're now watching, it plays out. Essentially, it's a mixture of what he was trying to do and what his brother's stupid suggestions were. That's
and of course, with the McKee character when he takes him to that bar. And it's just great. I love that.
Really good,
sir, you shouted at me earlier today. He's going, I'm gonna need more. And I said I wanted to do a screenplay about nothing because I really love that idea. But by the way, that is a true thing. People who pay to go to these seminars with like famous people, or the seminar is just you being hectored for asking questions, which is the entire purpose of the seminar. But people will just pay because I'm in a room with a supposed genius or whatever.
And they're all desperate.
So that's really
they're all desperate to make it. He's got the secrets, Yeah, of course.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really well observed. But then when he goes to the bar and he gives him the script where he's like going, it doesn't matter if the first 2/3 of the movie are shit, which is really funny because the first 2/3 of this movie are the best part, and it is a deliberate shit ending. It is a deliberate shit Hollywood hack third act, right? But then he goes, but whatever you do, just don't use a Deus Ex Machina, and he like pats him on the back, and then of course
voiceovers.
Yeah, or don't use voiceovers. They're cheap. Uses a voiceover, of course, and so he reneges on all of the advice that he is like gone and sought out actively to get this screenplay over the line and just get the movie made, and uses a Deus Ex Machina, like with an alligator that pops up and eats John Laroche at the end, which of course didn't happen.
Reason.
Yeah, and his brother dying for a cheap tearjerker thing.
Oh, it's
he
not only
sings that
so,
song.
What's so funny is so McKee, the real author, and you get this because Brian Cox says this on the stage too, is he talks a lot about Casablanca, right? And why Casablanca is the best screenplay.
Written by twins.
And written by twins, of course. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he says that later too. Yeah. And then also, but the funniest part about this is, of course, now that we have the parallels to the famously excellent screenplay of Casablanca that's being lauded by McKee, this guy who has the seminar. And one of the reasons why McKee loves this is because of the song As Time Goes By in Casablanca and how it kind of knits everything together. So what Charlie Kaufman does is he makes it stupid and he puts the song Happy together.
Yeah.
Just remember how good as time goes by is in Casablanca, and then he instead just tries to stitch this together in the hackiest way possible with the world's stupidest song, where he and his brother share this song "Happy Together," and then he's like singing "Happy Together" while his brother's dying,
and then it plays again at the end for the final scene before the credits as well, with flowers.
It's so fucking
with
funny.
flowers.
Imagine me and you. I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the one you love and hold you tight. So happy together.
Growing in the city. I remember, right? I've unironically got friends that clearly this movie just bounced off them because they've said to me, "Oh, you like that adaptation? I mean, it's good for the first 2/3, but like it goes off the fucking rails. It's shit at the end." And I'm like, you can't be serious right now. It's the whole
By the
point.
way, at the beginning of the
point
film, when he's like, I want to make a film about nothing. I don't want any car chases or affairs.
He's also saying this to the Hollywood
drugs
exec that
or
wants to say
killing.
all those things back to you, like put it in, like, I know. He's basically telling them, like, I'm not going to make a good film. That's what they're hearing.
So he says he's not going to do any of those things, and he just writes in the affair, the drugs, the car chase, the sex, the random Deus Ex Machina alligator at the end that just randomly kills Laroche. It becomes a melodrama where the brother just like taps out on the concrete, and then Meryl Streep's character is just like, "You killed him," after the alligator.
And you get to see hack Meryl Streep turn up to just do her fucking thing.
Oh, you fat piece of shit! He's dead, you loser!
Shut
You
up!
ruined my
Shut
life,
up!
you
Shut up!
fat fuck!
Fuck you, lady!
Which is again, it's like everybody understands the assignment in this. Like they're willing to parody themselves. They're willing to like give little sly, winks to the camera and stuff like that. And it's just great. I mean, like, by the way, the only way this can work is collaboration and a reverence for the ideas in the movie. This isn't even a movie that narratively is traditional in any way, shape, or form. It's not about the things it says it's about. It essentially spoils its own film to make a point about the compromises required to create art and what adaptation is, but also because the movie's called Adaptation, the dual meaning, things have to adapt to survive. He is saying, if you want to make a profound Hollywood movie about why flowers are amazing, you can't do that. You have to adapt to survive in the Hollywood system. So he adapts mid-film his live screenplay that you are watching evolve as you are watching the film into a shit garbage Hollywood movie to get it over the line and get it made so you are seeing it in the first place. That is mental.
Yep.
To commit that idea to screen is mental.
There's 3 levels to the adaptation title. One of them is that he's adapting the book. Mm-hmm. 2 of them is that they talk about adaptation with people, and Meryl Streep actually has a line. Susan Orlean has a line that says, adapting for people is kind of like giving up, right? And she does give up in the end. She doesn't, remember her character, her plight is that she is in this soulless intellectual world where people are just performative and they have no real passions, and their entire purpose feels like they're looking down on other people and being holier than thou and more intelligent than them. And so she's looking for something to obsess her, but she can't get that. She never finds that thing. What she finds is a drug, a false god that makes her obsessed. Her adaptation to her problem is literally just taking drugs. It is a surrender. It is a giving up. And in the same way, Charlie Kaufman, he doesn't make the movie that he says he wants to make. No. He gives up, and Donald, his alter ego, comes in and makes a hack Hollywood thriller, and that's the end. And the third part of adaptation is just literally the biological adaptation. Charles Darwin is in this movie. They put him on screen. We have all this discussion of the origin of species. So you have the idea of adaptation as evolution within this movie as well. So even the title is working on a lot of different levels, and it's informing everything about this movie. I mean, it's just like such a brilliant, it's conceptually so smart. and it's doing so much with one word, and everything hinges on that, from the characters to the plot to everything, right?
Yeah.
It's great. And it's like satire of evolution in a way too, because it is hacky when he starts saying like, oh, I'm going to start this movie with, here's the Earth and everything like that.
Which
but we had already seen the montage previously. It wasn't at the very beginning, but towards the beginning of the movie. But it's just really funny because the idea that the awesome powers of evolution led to Charlie Kaufman fucking having writer's block in Los Angeles is just deeply nihilistic.
By the
and
way,
funny,
one thing though, first of all, that is exactly what people like Charlie Kaufman, who are trying to do very ambitious films, are doing. They're having crazy thoughts, like the famous quote that goes, to create an apple pie, you must first create the universe from scratch. Like, you're almost doing that. Like, how far back can I go? And then secondly, if someone doesn't know, that exact sequence and that concept, Monte, is one of the central themes of revered director Terrence Malick's The Tree of Life. He essentially does do that with the replete with universe being created scenes and evolution of animals and dinosaurs as a way to tell a human story about a fucking middle American family or something mad. Because one of the things I think is also genius about this movie, but again, you have to know things outside the film, unfortunately, to get this, is that you could watch this movie, and if you're not someone who's a nerd, you'll never know it was even based on a real person and that the real actual scriptwriter is the main character. You could think that it was all artifice. It was all just complete fiction, right? But the genius of it is...
First time I watched it, I did.
Sure.
I didn't know about the book.
But along those lines, though, first of all, like, if the reason it's also so poignant to me is because how did he get this film made? Look, I can give you one reason that's obvious, which is if you look at the best Charlie Kaufman scripts, which are all incredibly ambitious, probably the most ambitious scripts ever made. They're all like unfilmable scripts, basically. You notice the people that the best films are with are like Spike Jonze, Michel Gondry. These are already like visionary directors who already have a lot of cachet. People buy into their visual style. They've done a lot of music videos. They kind of have a bit of license themselves to do something with this, etc. So the idea, like, that's another thing that's meta about this movie is like, how the fuck did he get this movie over the line and get it actually made? And then we even got to see it. This isn't some movie where, the script was like this, Monty, but then half it went on the cutting room floor, or some producer came in and shut it down and said, right, we're gonna have to cut this character, get rid of that there, actually just skip this to the end. No, by the way, this movie is just under 2 hours. It feels really long in a really good way, though. Like I was telling you guys before, man, the amount of dialogue is so dense. Like you can't just like fucking just let this wash over. You got to take it in. You got to listen. You got to pay attention. But if you do, it really does reward. Like, this is on some like James Joyce level where there's so much packed into all the scenes and the lines. Like, this is, by the way, absolutely a rewatch film. You can't just watch this through rewatch. No way.
Yeah, no way. And I haven't watched it for a while, man, but like forgot how fucking
mega in it. It's just a joy to watch, mate.
Yeah, I mean,
I hadn't seen it in at least a decade, and I remember, I was like, I love this movie, and I watched it again. I was like, I still fucking love this movie.
I mean, like
this
you're saying, all those little like monologues and things he's thinking and stuff. Oh, they're all brilliant. They're brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, obviously as well, like at the heart of it is something that's probably, I can understand why it might not resonate so strongly with some people. Not everyone is like creative in the sense that like your job might not be, where you have to like write or make content, or you might. We've all done manual work in our lives. We've all had shit jobs. It was just that, for some people, it's like the thing I wanted to do was be a writer, be a journalist, and, got to do that in my own little way. But if you are in somebody that works in a creative field and you understand like what it is to kind of strive to get an idea out of here and onto there, whether it's a visual medium or written medium or what have you, this movie explores that process like probably better than any other movie.
That famous trope, Richard, that you'll have heard in a million real life biographies of great artists, where at the end, I think someone like, I think Kafka might even have been one of the people who did this. The famous thing where it's like they die and they tell their widow, burn it all, it's all shit. Yeah. And then famously, the reason we have these things is, the widow decided not to do that, or a friend said, hey, what are you doing? That's genius. And like the reason why I can get that is what Richard's talking about. Do you know where someone's an utter fucking noob who hasn't even done a few failures, never mind being a master of a field, is when someone says, Monty, and they say this so many times if you're a creative person, what happens is you do a really good piece of work and they'll go, I had an idea like that, and I want to go on ideas. I piss on your ideas. Mate, do you want to know the whole reason why every truly great artist, like even Charlie Kaufman, is themselves tortured by the fact that they can't get the perfect idea out of their brain into the real world is because the ideas in your mind are so much better, mate. No matter how good you are, no matter how great a musician you are, sculptor, I get that angle, because essentially the real problem is, what if you're a singer, all you're doing is doing little fucking vibrations in the air, mate. If you're an artist, it's a few paintbrush strokes, you know. If you're a scriptwriter, it's words banging on a tape. That can never really access an idea. Like, best case scenario, you're trying to maybe like elicit a shorthand in someone else that triggers an experience or a feeling they had from it. Like, this is something that's missed about the creative process. I totally get why this guy's tortured, even though, by the way, in real life, I would tell this guy to his face, "You're a fucking genius, mate. Right? Any movie, I'll watch it." But I get why, if you're thinking, but how do I get this down and how do I explore this aspect? And am I being pretentious here? Because he's doing, you notice, he's also doing that David Foster Wallace thing of sort of like, as much as like I've done something brilliant, I'm going to undercut myself, and I do it because I have my own weird thing about, and I want to seem cool to people at parties. And there's so much going on in this film. It's brilliant.
I mean, look, also as well, I think to even talk, right, so Charlie Kaufman by this point is hot shit. Like, people, like, the way he's being gassed up.
Even then, though, Richard, that's another thing that you have to be able to relate to. If you've just done a banger film like being John Malkovich, mate, you're really worried the next one's the flop. Remember, you're only as good as the last fame, the last game. Like, that could blow it, right? The expectations are now weighing in on you, right?
Yeah, and so that's exactly kind of like where you're at.
Yes.
You know, once you've done a piece of work that you probably can see all of its flaws and all the cracks and everything, but everyone else thinks it's a masterpiece. Everyone's like, "Holy shit, get me more of this Charlie Kaufman guy!" Like, you know, and all of a sudden you're being absorbed into this like machine where everybody wants more of what you've got in there. Well, yeah, the pressure you're going to be under to deliver. Again, I don't have like any insight into what it would be like to be like a Charlie Kaufman like character. I am I'm a guy that wrote about video games for fucking 20 years, but I do remember the pressure I used to put myself under, where it would be like, you know, last week's column was really good, what am I writing about today? You know, I've experienced writer's block. I look at my earlier work now and I wish I could capture that voice again. Feel like I've got
an angle for you,
myself
Richard.
a little bit.
I'll bet you can relate to this. One of the reasons that lets you step out of yourself, like in this film, and realize, like, oh, I'm actually caught up in my own thoughts, I've gone too deep, is I've found this, when you're talking about like when you release like a lot of work, famously, sometimes you'll release a piece where it's not that you think you phoned it in, but you're like, nah, that's more like a 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10. I've just done that. What the horrifying thing is, your fans never have the same perspective. Have you noticed that? They sometimes think the phoned in piece is your best piece, and sometimes the one you've actually slaved over for like 3 weeks and you think, oh, this is fucking next level shit. That's the one they're like, it was all right, yeah, that one was okay, and you just realize you're just so in the minutiae of it, but you get lost in the sauce, don't you?
It's happened to me many times.
Sure.
I mean, like, you know, I remember, like, the articles I know are good. Never the ones people bring up when they talk about my work. I mean, like, I did some real, like, back when I was in the zone before E-League, I think I did some pieces which I know they would stand up to any editorial scrutiny at any publication, particularly that one about the hacker at Riot Games and how I told that story. Immensely proud of that, and I know how much work went into that. I was like conversing with people in Australia and having to do behind the scenes interviews and hours and hours and hours and hours, and it came out and people went, yeah, that was good, you know, that was good, that was a nice story, you know. And it's like, guys, like, I have fucking broke my back on this. And then it was like, I thought, well, okay, this is the new normal now. That's your new standard. Like, you gotta get the next piece out and the next piece out, and it just never. That might be the high water.
By the way, I don't know if he's ever told you this, but because to be fair, it's obviously league shows, he would say something. But Monte actually has his own thing that tortures him like that, Richard, which is that because he comes from this theatre background and he wants esports to be bigger and serious, he has done loads of things in esports where he was trying to capture, you know, a thing or tell a story. But then what he hates is that he's never, like, his entire whole high water mark is just that he blew that train whistle. He actually hates that is what everyone loves, which is from 12 years ago now.
All I hear now.
No, but Richard, it's like, hey, Monte, Korean hype train, lol. And I'm like, what about like
Yeah.
the decade of analysis I did?
Yeah, but I love that
doesn't
thing with the whistle, though, Monty. That thing with the whistle.
funny man blow
A
train
literal,
whistle.
like,
now.
almost slapstick scene. I love it. I love it.
How does it feel to be your own
I know.
hack twin brother,
I know.
Monty? How does it feel? Like, you know? But yeah, no, I mean, like, honestly, the artistic process, it sounds really pretentious and wanky, but I'll just try and be earnest about it. If you've ever gone through, like, being in your own head when you're creating something, the ups and downs of the creative process are like, oh, this is really good, I'm in the zone, or shit, I've done 800 words, I've got to get this to 3,000 by today, I'm on a deadline, why can't I write this, you're up and down, you get over the finish line, you feel jubilant, then you go back and you reread it, and shit, I should have changed that. That's needless. Leave a pause. I can cut the word count down here. Oh, that's the best line, but it doesn't really fit because I set up a theme that's this, and I can't use this line because it goes against. You go through all of this to essentially turn it over to an audience that are not going to feel the same way about a piece that you do, and are going to come at it from their own perspective, which you can never intuit because just of the entire spectrum of the human experience. And it's like, it is like a form of like compulsion and torture to keep wanting to get up and do it. And I think the reason so many writers in particular, but also directors, since we're doing a movie podcast, I think the reason so many people burn out is you use so much energy and so much of your fuel in trying to craft an impossible masterpiece, to try and hit the thing. Because Duncan's absolutely right. An idea exists in a perfect universe where it is absolutely flawless and instantly executable. Everything that happens to bring that idea to life is process, and everything in the process is flawed. And you yourself are a flawed.
By the way,
vessel
it's self-metaphor for Hollywood. Remember, if you don't know, I've told this story before, I'm pretty sure in the series, but I'll say it again. One of the most interesting things, I was obsessed with Orson Welles at one point. So I've read like every biography, watched every documentary, watched all his films that I can get my hands on. And one of the most interesting conclusions he came to, Monty, and sadly, this is just the nature of the era he was in, was basically, if you think about when he died and when he stopped making films completely, even independent ones, was right before the era where you could get a cheap camera and you had the internet, you had these ways that cut out the middleman and all the Hollywood process and all the millions of dollars. Because the real problem he learned was this: his best way of being artistic was making Hollywood films, right? That's about the most expensive, most difficult process to be an artist you can ever have. Remember, Michelangelo in theory just needs a brush. You know what? Someone just needs to sculpt the thing. Someone just needs a guitar with... By the way, the joke is the Ramones, the famous story goes, they wrote every song on a one-string guitar because it's just... It's just, you know... But Orson Welles realised, but only at the end of his life, sadly, unlike John Rowski, who went and did all the comics and stuff, like, I've essentially picked the hardest medium to get my ideas through to the real world and get it onto the screen. Like, if I'd have done anything else, like, I could have... Again, Bob Dylan just needs a guitar, mate. That's all he needs, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the problem is, like, that's another thing, if you think about the metaphor of a film, they always say that the worst, by the way, this is why it's apt that we're talking about this film, they say the least satisfying role in Hollywood is script writer. Because even if your script is fucking insane, maybe the producer fucks it, maybe the director has a massive ego and he thinks it's your film, or even worse, maybe some stupid actor ad-libs a bunch of shite and ruins the character. The amount of people can fuck your perfect, amazing script is unbelievable. And that's, by the way, if you even get to the point, like Richard said, where you yourself even appreciated the script. Like, you're always handing something over essentially to toddlers and we're going to tear it apart. Which is why this film being amazing is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's up so many ways. Couldn't this have been like a 5 out of 10 movie with like, I can see what they were going for there, but it didn't land.
Think about how many ways, even more than normal, this could have been fucked up, because Susan, at the end of the day, Susan Orlean just could have vetoed this. Like, it's even rarer that you could have had another writer like just straight up veto this film, because it is her work that's being put on screen. And I mean, it's not really her work at all, if we're being honest. Like, it's a fictional extension of her work, but you know, her character, her person is being put up on screen. And I think it's so fascinating because there are just so many ways this could have gone wrong, but it's a testament to Charlie Kaufman that people recognize his brilliance and that he had this relationship from being John Malkovich with Spike Jonze, and that all the actors at this point probably were like loving being in his movies. I mean, he never has a problem getting actors. I mean, look at the actors that are in his later movies. I mean, Philip Seymour Hoffman just drops an absolute like bombshell in Schenectady, New York. He's fucking amazing in that movie.
What's interesting is though what happens in what happens in the adaptation, in the movie adaptation. What happens in that process is it actually happened to Kaufman after, for real. If I'd urge anyone to go and look up what happened with Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, which is like it's a strange movie for Kaufman to even have adapted to a screenplay, because it's like a biography of a guy called Chuck Barris. Some people, might know him. He was like the host of the Gong Show, and he started putting out these like fabulous accounts of his life, where he said he was a secret CIA operative and hitman and all this stuff. And so obviously, like, he's led this insane double life. So Kaufman comes in, he's writing it up, and it was George Clooney directing a movie for the first time, and Clooney tore Kaufman's script apart. He made like alterations on the fly, and what he was doing to the movie, he was wanting to make a change because he didn't quite like something. So he didn't call Kaufman, he'd call Barris, the fucking serial fabulous lunatic, and he'd go, yeah, well, obviously it was more like this. And so basically Barris was essentially a co-writer of a screenplay about his largely fictitious life, which ultimately it got further and further away from Kaufman's vision. And Kaufman basically said, like, they treated me on that movie where I it was like, basically, write the script, and then fuck off, and then we'll make the movie. And he's like, I will not work like that ever again. And so you look at the rest of his career and how it's kind of panned out.
And then he started directing as well.
Yeah, well, obviously,
Kaufman directed Schenectady, New York, and Anomalisa.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Anomalisa is such a slept-on film as well.
Yeah, definitely go watch it.
Great.
Enjoy this. Go watch it.
Yeah. I mean, but so ultimately, it's kind of interesting that Charlie Kaufman was able to intuit, very new to the Hollywood process, but he was very aware of what the Hollywood process could be, and then later experienced that in his actual career, courtesy of George Clooney. Good guy George. So yeah, I mean, listen, I think the movie ultimately achieves something that's so...
By the way, in some ways itself
more grandiose.
Also a perfect metaphor for Hollywood. So you write a shit-hot, amazing script. You're acknowledged as like an upcoming rising genius. It's brutalized by the guy who played that doctor at ER. Fuck off, Hollywood. Shove it up your... That's like Joy from Friends going, I think I'm going to rewrite this. Like, fuck you. Yeah. Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, really, really kind of like wild to think about. Like they don't really understand like the mercurial talent. There's a really good movie about this, which is it's almost as good as Adaptation. I don't think it is good, but it's one of my beloved films. And in the same way that Duncan's talked about many times, he loves Clerks, and maybe Clerks isn't a top 50 movie of all time, but for Duncan it will always be a 10. Barton Fink by the Coen brothers is very, very good, astute observation. I would consider it a companion piece to this, because what Barton Fink writes a play that is about like working class lives, and he's become a bit of a darling on the in the stage world. And Barton Fink's played by John Turturro, who's excellent. And they basically, Hollywood calls him up and says, you come to Hollywood and write scripts for us. And then he gets there, and the first project he's put on is a wrestling movie. And he goes, I just want a wrestler with a heart of gold, but he's sick, but he takes on one last match to help a kid. Just give me that. But give me that Barton Fink feeling. That's the recurring phrase. Because Barton Fink's a special and talented writer. So give me that Barton Fink feeling. That's what we brought you to Hollywood for. Anyway, he experiences writer's block. He wants to write a really big reaching play about the common man, use this wrestler as the vector for the working class struggle in the ring and how that's like life. And he just gets so fucking bogged down. He even meets with another screenwriter who's been there a few years, who he realizes is a washed up alcoholic, and his secretary is actually secretly doing all the screenplays. And he's just becoming so jaded, so inflated. His best friend turns out to be a serial killer. It's just a spiral into hell. And at the end, the head of the studio says, just write the fucking wrestling movie. How hard is this? We do 10 of these a year, you mad cunt. You think that you're the only Barton Fink out there? I've got 10 Barton Finks who can give me that Barton Fink feeling. And he realizes in that moment he's absolutely nothing special. And, I've experienced that too. When you get chewed up by an editor, You think a piece is really good and they want to change it in a different way and you fight for it, and then you kind of realize in retrospect you were just being precious about your art and stuff. So that is a really, really good companion piece to this. If adaptation didn't exist, I would say that probably Barton Fink and The Player are the two smartest movies about how shit Hollywood actually is. But unfortunately for them, adaptation does exist, and the fact that this isn't a movie, it's a piece of performance art, essentially. You watch the process Kaufman goes through happen in real time for you as you experience it, and the process he went through is the movie about the process, which is in itself also a movie because that's the process.
But it also is this Ouroboros where you don't even know what's real anymore, right? I think that's what makes it so this is a great touch of postmodernity.
It's a great touch of using set footage of being John Malkovich, and then essentially superimposing Nick Cage as Charlie Kaufman.
And as you say, then crediting in the credits the brother as well, who is not a real person. It's all brilliant. I love the way it blurs the lines again.
And because he's here's the brilliance is because he is credited as a writer, we should assume that because they are both in the movie and he's now writing the screenplay about itself, and we have the scenes of him writing the screenplay of things we've already seen happen in the film itself, that Donald Kaufman is a character who doesn't die, and it's Donald Kaufman who actually writes the final act of the film that is the hack trash, because the agent told him to tap his brother in to actually finish the film. So Don Kaufman isn't dead. Don Kaufman killed himself. And I would argue you can even tell, not only just because of the actions that happen that Don Kaufman is writing this, but because the dialogue turns to shit. Like, one of my favorite parts of this film is when they're both hiding behind the log, and Don Kaufman goes on this story. They go on this story about the girl who was flirting with him in high school and then was laughing behind his back. And then Don Kaufman has this terrible monologue about, I just realized that it's about the things you love and not about the things that love you, which is basically just a really fancy way to say, don't care what other people think about you, which is the most worthless platitude trash of all time. And so it's just it's terribly written. It is like a hilariously not poignant moment, and shows how dumb Donald Kaufman actually is.
It's that fake profundity that a lot of Hollywood
fake
movies
profundity
have.
And then he just gets launched through a windshield and dies.
I can't believe I got shot. Isn't that fucked up? Shut up. Stop laughing.
While his brother is singing Happy
And
Together.
as you say, they even give Meryl Streep, Hollywood award-winning actress, like, you killed him! Like, fucking hell, come on.
and him going, I'm going to get you. Chris Cooper suddenly devolves into the redneck stereotype. I'm going to get you.
Exactly.
I'm going to get you. I don't want to do this, but I got Meryl Streep tricked out on drugs. And just like, what the fuck is going on?
And I just love the scene too when they like break into the house and they're like, we gotta kill him now, and then it goes into the world's stupidest chase through the swamp where they're just walking through the swamp and they're just hiding behind a log. Anyway, the whole thing is just such trash, which is why it's great, right? It's so incredibly self-aware, and it just makes you wonder. It makes you assume, oh well, Donald must have written this, but Donald is not a real person. Donald is just another part of Charlie Kaufman that has to, he's the dumbass part that has to, he's the part of Charlie Kaufman that turns his brain off to get Hollywood movies made.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
is,
you know, look,
fantastic.
Ultimately as well, though, the other part we haven't even talked about, and I know we're pressed for time, we're on a deadline for this episode, but the screenplay process his brother is going through in parallel to him, how it's all so easy. It's just the words just flow in. His idea, like when he just says, "Could you give me? I need a cool way to kill people. Could you give me an idea?" And he goes, "Okay, it's a guy. He's an English literature critic or whatever it is, and he
professor.
He's a professor, and he chops people up into small parts, and then like bit by bit, and he's called the deconstructionist. And he goes, "Wow, that's really cool." And he goes, "I was fucking joking."
The joke is though, that is what like Michael Bay would do. He'd be like, "That's
exactly.
I can already see
exactly,
it.
that fire. Give me more of that. Give me more of that fucking Charlie Kaufman feeling. And of course, it's like a throwaway idea, and then he goes, "I'm stealing that anyway." And then it turns out that by his screenplay is now also adapted and so far removed from his original idea, but also the initial premise is so terrible it can't even possibly hold up because it's about multiple personality disorder, where the guy is simultaneously the killer and the policeman trying to catch the killer, which is such an insane hacky idea, but could be good in the right hands, but doesn't work because
Also been tried a million times too.
Yeah,
so many times.
He doesn't understand the simple premise of the physicality of, if the killer is over here doing this, how can he have a chase of himself in any other place but the theater of the mind? And he doesn't get it. And I love that bit where he's like earnestly talking about the chase at the end, and he's going, and he just keeps adding motifs. Like, a motif has to permeate through the fucking artistic work. You can't just keep adding them. And he goes, yeah, we're going to have a chase at the end where he's on a horse and he's in a car, and it's going to be like, you know, horse versus machine or something. And Maggie Gyllenhaal is so enraptured as he's delivering this. Like he's, wow, it's like a brain factory in here. And it's like, oh my God, this would fucking kill me, dude. Like, you know,
I just like how Nicolas Cage, Charlie has the line. He's like, how are we the same genes?
Yeah.
I mean, it's so offensive that he's related to him.
It's actually like, it's funny in that way where you might not belly laugh like through the movie. It's not funny like that. It's not like Airplane funny or Spinal Tap funny, but it's fucking funny. This movie is fucking funny.
My genre's thriller. What's yours?
You and I share the same DNA. Is there anything more lovely than that?
What'd you say, bro?
Like, it's also funny if you're in on the joke, which the first time you watch the movie, you might not be. You don't know where the movie's gonna end up. You don't know how they are going to tank their own movie to make a point about the artistic process. You don't know they're gonna do that the first time. And like I said, there are people who've watched this movie that don't get it. They don't understand why that's happened. They just think that.
Well, I just also love you mentioned this earlier, but Brian Cox's line of like, they only remember, the end of the movie, and the end of the movie is fucking trashed intentionally. Yeah. And so it's like, he's basically daring you to say that this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
It's really good. And I mean, like I said, but like, really, it is really funny. It is really funny. And I mean, funny in that way where you go, oh yeah, I'm smart. I'm getting all of these jokes. I'm getting everything that's being thrown out by this film right now. And so it's one of those where, I don't want to call it a pretentious film. I don't want to give it that label.
It's not, though,
because it really isn't. There's almost like a blue collar sensibility to
look. Synecdoche, New York is a pretentious
film. Sure, but it's also a masterpiece. So it's fine.
Yeah, I love that movie, but it is much more pretentious than this movie.
But like, what this does is it almost gives a blue collar sensibility to something that's very white collar. It's very like sitting down at a keyboard and being tortured by it. And there's probably, again, people, they're like, man, I get up and lay bricks for 10 hours a day and my back's fucking tanning, and and I make a fraction of what you do. The tortured artist, to essentially humanize that and make it relatable is like
what I think is so masterful about this movie, just from the perspective of craft, is that think about how many things we've said are going on in this movie, how many different layers there are to it, all the different timelines, by the way, because it's jumping back and forward in time constantly. There's just complete like non sequitur content, including the evolution of the entire world that's put in here, cutaways to Charles Darwin. Like, all of this actually makes sense and is very easy to watch for some reason. You're never confused about where you are in time. Are you 3 years in the future after The Orchid Thief has been written? Like, it's very clear where we are. A lot of this is actually accomplished, I think, well through the voiceover narratives, which help ground the movie when you're not supposed to do that, according to McKee.
Never use
right?
voiceover.
But I think it serves a really good purpose.
Anybody can explain what a character is feeling if you use voiceover. He's right. Like, he is right. It's the worst thing about David Lynch's Dune, that fucking insane voiceover he does in that movie. But
like, the fact that this is so easily comprehensible is mind-boggling.
Oh, sure.
Like, it just makes sense very easily. When you're watching it, it's not a struggle to figure out what is happening. It's so easy to figure out.
What doesn't make sense, guys? that Roger Ebert has been redeemed on this arc.
Holy shit, for real?
All right.
Yeah, like,
Does he come with the 4 stars?
He's been right. He's been right
Okay.
on every film, right? So get this. Not only did he proclaim that Being John Malkovich was the best film of 1999, right? So that's just a little tidbit he throws into his review of Adaptation. He gives this 4 stars. I will read to you with the last 2 paragraphs of his review. And there's a little bit I might have some umbrage with, but it wouldn't be a Roger Ebert review if that wasn't true. But he said, during all of this movie's dazzling twists and turns, it remains consistently fascinating, not just because of the direction and writing, but because of the light-hearted darkness of the performances. Chris Cooper plays a con man of extraordinary intelligence who is attractive to a sophisticated New Yorker because he is so intensely himself in a world where few people are anybody. Nicolas Cage as the twins get so deeply inside their opposite characters, we can always tell them apart, even though he uses no tricks of makeup or hair. Absolutely true. His narration creates the desperate agony of a man so smart he understands his problems intimately, yet so neurotic he is a captive to them. Really good description, Roger. You're killing it right now. Now, as for Meryl Streep, well, it helps to know, since she plays in so many serious films, in her private life, she's one of the merriest of women, because here she is able to be, to begin as a studious New Yorker author and end as more or less Katharine Hepburn in The African Queen. I sat up during this movie, I leaned forward, I was completely engaged. It toyed with me, tricked me, played straight with me, then tricked me about that. Its characters are colourful because they care so intensely. They are more interested in their obsessions than they are in the movie, if you see what I mean. And all the time uncoiling beneath the surface of the film is the audacious surprise of its last 20 minutes, in which, well, to say the movie's ending works on more than one level is not to imply it only works on 2. He's killed it. He's killed it with the Nick Cage.
Great review.
He's actually killed it. This is the movie I was certain Roger Ebert wasn't going to understand it and be like, oh, it's too pretentious. But no, he actually adores this movie. He adores Charlie Kaufman films. I don't think he ever gave a Kaufman script a bad review. And it's right. I mean, like, the only thing I take a little bit of umbrage with there is the characterization of Chris Cooper playing a con man of extraordinary intelligence. I don't.
He's
know
not a con man.
Yeah, that's the part. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, when he goes into porn in the last 20 minutes, it turns out he's just a sleazy porn guy. Yeah, this porn thing's blowing up. And like Meryl Streep's got her boobs out on a fucking clearly photoshopped porn website, and
which is hilarious as fuck if you get the film though. That is actually like laugh out loud funny.
Yeah, it was laugh out loud funny because obviously it does make it look like he's not earnest in his love of her or even his love of orchids by that point. But I think up until the point the movie deliberately goes off the rails with the bad script writing, I think Chris Cooper is not a con man. I think he is a man of extraordinary intelligence who was absolutely earnest in his love of these incredibly rare flowers, and I think that really comes across in the performance. So that's the only part I would question Roger Ebert on, about whether or not. But I suppose ultimately it is true if you make the bad ending canon, which I kind of like. It's a real film up until that point, and then it's like it's 2/3 really, really good movie, really, really good horrors of adapting source material that is itself kind of opaque and difficult to get, and then it's the final third is a commentary on how Hollywood will ruin anything it touches if you allow it to. So I mean, look, obviously we need to start wrapping up. But like, just what a film! Like, just what a fucking film! 10 out of 10. Give it all the awards.
Easy 10 out of 10.
This is like,
I fucking love this movie.
Anyone in the comments that says this movie sucks, fuck you. You're banned from the channel. You're not allowed to watch our shit, because this is everything you could want from a movie about the artistic process, with insane cast, excellent performances, even memorable cameos. Like Brian Cox just kills it. Like, he's on screen again, like 4 minutes, he just kills it. He's just so good. Everyone's so good. The screenplay is masterful. The performance is masterful. And what it does is like a film like no other. What it achieves is insane. It's movies like this that give you hope for, like, actually high art can still get made somehow, like The Rarest of Orchids.
And if you fuck with this movie, like Charlie Kaufman is just incredible. We talked about he does animation, so like Anomalisa is an animated film. He directed. We've said Synecdoche, New York is coming on this show. Is going to be on the show. I looked it up while we were doing this, Richard. It's in that sweet spot. It's a 6.9 on IMDb because
people have to be stopped.
Normies can't understand it.
People have to be stopped.
Normies cannot penetrate that film. But like obviously you guys probably seen Eternal Sunshine or Being John Malkovich, both excellent. I watched this one. His most recent film that he wrote was it was actually an adaptation of a children's book called Orion in the Dark. And I did not know that he wrote this movie, and my kid was watching it on Netflix, and I sat down and I started watching it and I was like, what the fuck? This is like really good. Why is this so good? And then the credits come up. It was like written by Charlie Kaufman. I was like, oh, okay. I understand now why this was so good. So he has just incredible range throughout all of the films. The scripts are so good. It just drives great performances out of great actors. Who knew Jim Carrey would be such a powerful, dramatic performer? I think he's great in Eternal Sunshine. My favorite Jim Carrey roles are that and The Truman Show. I don't like his comedic work. I don't like him in comedy movies. I think he's bad.
Yeah,
a lot of people don't share that opinion.
Not my tempo.
I hate his comedy
not my
movies.
tempo. Just before we set up the next arc, Monty, because I know Duncan's got to go in like literally 2-3 minutes. So I just wanted to get Duncan's final thoughts about the movie, and then you can tee up the arc and we can wrap.
I mean, I think a lot of what I said in the intro basically is what I think about this film. Is like the real genius of it is that essentially what the person is failing to do in the film, somehow they did in real life. And I also agree with it was like pretty swear. I actually do think this is why there's also potentially an interesting discussion about like how the scriptwriter and the director collaborate, because actually, like I say, if you take other like very good directors who do weird films themselves, like Michel Gondry or Spike Jonze, they made, I think, Kaufman a bit more palatable. Whereas when he's on his own doing Synecdoche, New York, and he can do whatever he wants, he probably goes way too far out there for the average cinema viewer. Like, they're not going to necessarily be on the journey with you. So I think this film also, for me, this is why I'm amazed at like anyone who's rating it not that high. Is like, I feel like this also hits an amazing sweet spot where, like I say, you could even just enjoy this as a straight up film and not worry too much about all the illusions and the meta contextual. Yeah, it's still a really good film, still really enjoyable. But then if you also enjoy like character actors, if you enjoy ideas like how does the creative process get adapted from someone else's work to what inspires you about their work and you draw out of it, to aspects, like I said, of like literally even like I agree, the poetic allusions to the flower and the soulmate of the insect. This is beautiful work. Like, what's funny is it simultaneously has Nick Cage doing really stupid one-line jokes that could be in a Kevin Smith movie, to like incredible like Malick-esque musings on life, but then it also has like these down-to-earth, mundane, like gnawing imposter syndrome thoughts. I think it's just, the places this film goes is incredible. Like, even though he himself roasts the idea of like, you know, I would go back to the beginning of time, and in a way he's done sort of that for the Hollywood process though. Like, you almost see completely how someone starts with something they want to do, ends somewhere differently, but the journey they take along the way is the incredible part. And I think this is just, I agree with you. I think it's just a fucking sick movie. Like, I already held this in high esteem anyway, but I'd probably put it even higher after rewatching it for the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, likewise. And by the way, I was put this out there too. Probably two of my favorite movies that we've ever done on Foreplay were this one and Mandy, if I'm being honest. And for all the flack Nick Cage gets about his acting, he's the lead. In
by the way, and
it's
obvious we should in the future just do a Charlie Kaufman arc.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, down the line.
I'm down. I would love that. I would love that. So yeah, we will get around to a lot of the movies we referenced today. Obviously, we're passionate about them, but next is going to be our journalism arc, and we are going to be starting
talking
with
to pretentious.
Yes, the film that must be done. We kind of felt we were really locked into certain films in this next arc. We kicked out Spotlight at the end and put Salvador in on Thorin's suggestion. But the first three films, All the President's Men, Network, and The Insider. I don't know how you do. I think you just have, if you have to pick 4 journalism for films, those must be 3 of them. There aren't a lot of choices here when it comes to the short list. So we will be starting with All the President's Men, and we'll see you next week.